Artists usually get a bad rep, but with COVID-19, jobs for artists are even harder to come by. Singapore's Sunday Times even went viral over a graphic that essentially said that artists were a non-essential job, which is weird coming from them because the graphic was probably made by an artist in the first place. This is why I caught up with local artist Nini Marini. Nini Marini is a Malaysian artist who mostly works with paint and crafts. She has also made a name for herself in Malaysian media, collaborating with brands to being on TV shows and magazines. She also had a day job in corporate media before leaving to focus solely on art.
Came to a point when I was doing all this work in media, I realized I was 40. If I were to stay in media for at this point in my life, I needed to know what I was going to do in corporate. If I were to switch the percentages of me doing work was 80%, art 20%. If I were to split the percentages, what can I do with my artistic self, and what kind of business can I do? And that was the challenge that I set for myself.
Can you tell me about your art style? Do you have an art style, or do you like experiment with a few different kinds?
I wanted to be an animator, so I was like lining everything out, and of course I also liked batik as well. So I was learning how to illustrate with, you know, like Indian ink and all that, and I developed this flowy sort of stroke that I think is quite signature of who I am, coupled with vibrant pattern and color. That's who I am.
She's currently hosting on Airbnb, and she's teaching other people all around the world how to weave with old t-shirts.
I think it's got lycra in it. Is it okay?
Okay.
It's kind of stretchy.
Yeah. No, it's good to have it stretchy, but I just wanted you to understand the material, because when you cut it into strips, we will eventually be tugging at it, and we're going to make them like, you know, we're going to take the stretch out of the yarn.
So when COVID came, I found the opportunity to take a break and really learn how to teach people. Because for me, teaching people online is so different from physical teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have my own workshop, so it's easy for me to go, don't do that like this, or I can show, and it's just instant. But with online, the art of communication comes you need to know how to describe things,
mm-hmm.
and you need to show things, and you need to break down steps so that people don't get confused.
Have you cut that part off already?
Can you tell the difference between like being able to teach like online and then teaching like in real life? Because I think maybe, is there like a sort of like a veil if you want to teach like online?
Sure. There is definitely a void. Like, there's a distance between me and the screen for it to start.
Yeah.
And then there's you as well. So there's a huge distance. So it's super different, physical and online. But I like having the online stuff now, because it's just, I know that you're comfortable in your own home.
So according to Nini, when I weaved the coaster and it turned out like a bowl, it actually meant that I gave too much tension in the middle, and that essentially meant that I had too much tension in me, which makes sense. She guides you through the basics, but then everything else is basically up to the individual. No matter how ugly it turned out, is essentially yours because you made it. When artists like Nini are able to make a living doing what they love most, it's sad to see the struggle that comes out after a pandemic like COVID-19 happened, and there's nothing that they can do.
A lot of the musicians and the artists that I know, they're not able to make the same amount of money that I did, before MCO and before the pandemic. So like, is there any advice that you can give them, like maybe going through a tough time right now?
Just having that sort of soothing schedule and doing things and making things with your hands gives you time to start brainstorming in your head what you want to do next. And I think remaining positive, and I know people might think it's new age, but I believe this so strongly, that if you project that sort of energy into the universe and you start maintaining that positivity, you attract new opportunities. And I know other friends as well in the creative industry who had to pivot and do different things. So I know an events company who did then overnight switched their company around and started producing sanitary kits, and they started creating campaigns for brands instead. you know. So, and I'm looking at these people put concerts up, but they had to upskill, relearn. So my advice is to go online, take a couple of classes, learn that thing that you've always wanted to learn, and see where that takes you. Because there's nothing else you can do at this point, right? And it's like, yes, everybody's looking for work, but I think now is also an opportunity to explore the passion in which you had kept dormant for so long.
If the pandemic is stopping you from doing one thing, then it shouldn't stop you from looking into another thing. Take advantage of the internet and other resources, because you'll never know what you can find, and who knows, you might just find something that you have not considered yet. And while it is easier said than done, there can be plenty of resources that you can use to make art into cash. You can always do the same route as Nini and teach people around the world to make art with Airbnb experiences. You can use platforms like Patreon, where fans pay their favorite creators a monthly amount, or things like Redbubble, where you can sell your art prints on things like t-shirts and even face masks. Malaysian Cultural Economy Development Agency Cendana even has funding programs for the local art scene, from music to visual arts and to many other kinds. Their goal is to help stabilize the art sector, especially during the pandemic. The world has changed, so it makes sense to change along with it. But keep fighting for the right to make art, because who else is gonna make graphics for us? The tourism department? Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And also type in to the comment section or whatever that you want to say, and click the bell icon. That's important. So keep it up.